Willow Creek Springs presents Healthy Living with your host, Joe Grumbine.
Well, hello and welcome to the Healthy Living Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Grumbine, and today we've got a very special guest. Her name is Paula Yost, and Paula is an incredible woman here. She's a seasoned attorney and a licensed mental health clinician. And maybe as important as that, she's a mother of children with medical challenges and a survivor of life-threatening preeclampsia, and I want to know about that because I don't know a thing about that. And Paula's on a mission to help families advocate for their children and put themselves through storytelling, education, and unapologetic truth. I'm a big fan of unapologetic truth. So, Paula, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Joe. I'm happy to be here.
Nice. So why don't you tell me a little bit about, yourself? I always like to hear a Genesis story. I mean, you've got this wealth of talent, and you know, like most attorneys, plaques all over the wall, I'm sure. But why don't you tell me, how did you get to this place?
Well, I'm a nerd who's really good at school.
Okay, all right.
Um, I'm an only child. I'm a first generation college student. My grandparents on my mom's side were pretty rough, and my mom had a pretty rough upbringing. So I'm second generation away from a lot of that.
Okay.
And went to Virginia Tech first, graduated from college. 9/11 was my senior year of college, so the job
Oh,
market crashed, and I went to law school. Got to law school and realized that I was not like other lawyers, even though I was completing school. Like, I just don't have the personality type that many lawyers have.
uh-huh.
So I finished law school, but then when I got out, I became a licensed clinical mental health therapist. And so I went back to grad school and got a master's degree in that. So I'm both a licensed attorney and a licensed clinical mental health therapist.
Wow, you are good at school.
I'm really good at school. I'm really good at it. But then I also have four kids. My daughter is legally adopted from foster care. I was actually her court appointed guardian. And when
Wow.
she aged out of foster care, I kept her. And
Wow.
I also have three sons who are biologically mine.
Okay. Wow. What a incredible set of experience. I raised two kids that came from my wife's, biology, and two of my own. So I understand the value of raising a kid that you didn't birth, and
Yeah.
it's powerful. It's in many ways I'm closer to the kids that don't have my blood in them than the two that do, and it's wild. So. I'm seeing that you're dealing with helping people advocate. The foster system is brutal. The um, CPS system is brutal. I've been involved with a number of people over the years through a human rights organization that I had that went through CPS, and once they get their claws into you, like the system is this giant matrix thing that it's almost impossible to get out of, and it almost seems like it's designed to take kids from their families. And I don't think it is, but it seems that
Yeah.
way.
It's not. Let's talk about some of the things that I see. So
Yeah.
there is a huge movement now in America where people are saying the foster care system is so horrible and so re-traumatizing that we just shouldn't have it at all.
Oh, okay.
And I understand how people are drawing those conclusions, but
Mhm.
let me add that I fundamentally disagree with them.
Okay.
So let me give you some examples. I did a podcast recently where I had this conversation with a gentleman who had been in foster care. And what he said was, my mother was woefully inequipped to be a mother. She was a drug addict and a prostitute. And me and my siblings all have different dads. She was not able to parent us. My daughter's situation was very similar. Her father had been in prison from the time she was 2 or 3 years old. Her mother has an IQ or had an IQ of 70 and was addicted to opioids. So they just simply were not able to parent her. Was the foster care system good? No. Was it re-traumatizing? Absolutely. But the environment that she came from was worse. Like the environment she came from was hopeless.
Right.
And most states don't have enough foster care parents to begin with, especially for our teenage youth. So they truly don't want to take your kids. I see them taking kids because the parents are totally ill-equipped, because the parents refuse to work a safety plan, or because in many cases, mom and dad are engaged in acts of domestic violence and the kids just don't need to be there.
Okay, that's fair enough. I know I've probably been exposed to some extreme cases and where there were laws, especially involving cannabis and things that just were not
Right.
particularly dangerous to the kids, but they were.
Right. They're not that big of a deal. Right.
Right, right. But that was many years ago. I think things are changing away from those types of problems. But then the other side of it is you hear stories about the kid who died and CPS wouldn't come out. They were told and told and told that there's a problem and they just wouldn't
And
take it
right.
seriously.
And
So,
I see that too.
mhm. And it's a complicated world, I know many foster parents. I don't know why. It just happens that I've, come in contact, and it seems that most of the foster parents I know have multiple foster kids. Like they don't just have one, they've got four, and I don't know, maybe it's because when the person is the right fit that they see the overwhelming need and they got a giant heart and they're just, willing to do it, I guess.
Good foster parents are truly amazing.
Yeah.
They really are. And I've seen some wonderful ones and
Hmm.
I've seen some terrible ones.
Right.
And, some of the things that I think are very important, I don't think always that foster parents are given the full picture because
Right.
of confidentiality. A lot of times, the Department of Human Services feels like they can't tell everything that happened to a child to foster parents.
Hmm.
I don't think that's helpful. I think you need to kind of, if you're going to parent a child who's had significant trauma, you need to know the nature of the trauma. You know, um, is it just poverty? Is there a physical health condition? Have we got a child that's been sexually assaulted? Because
Hmm.
knowing those things will help you figure out how to provide the best care. And if we're not sharing all of that information, then we're not providing the best care.
Agreed. I think transparency is paramount when it comes to this. I mean, imagine you take on a kid and you don't know this most important thing about them, and the kid's not telling you because they don't know what to do. They're maybe they don't even remember it at the time. I mean, there's so many reasons.
Or there's a shame narrative. There's
Right.
a lot of children who don't open up about what they've been through because they're ashamed
Sure.
and because they've been told not to talk about it.
Hmm. Exactly. And I mean, we were talking about that with our prison program about the ACEs concept and these kids from 2 to 12 that have a terrible thing happen to them, and then the one person that's supposed to be their rock, the person who's supposed to that they're supposed to be able to go to says, you don't tell anybody this or whatever. And I mean, I can't even imagine, what that would do to a kid, and yet it happens all the time.
Right. That's absolutely right.
So I want to take a pause on this. I keep seeing this word preeclampsia, and I have no idea what that means. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, preeclampsia. So, preeclampsia is the number one killer of pregnant women in America.
Okay.
No one knows what causes it, but I mean, there's theories about what causes it, but it's nothing that mothers cause. It's usually the theory is that the placenta doesn't attach to the uterine wall the way it's supposed to.
Oh,
And as
okay.
the pregnancy progresses, it impacts the mother's blood pressure.
Oh,
So
oh,
I had stroke level blood pressure when I was 26 weeks pregnant. And I
wow.
actually had a micropreemie who was born at 27 weeks.
Whoa.
He weighed 1 pound and 14 ounces.
Whoa.
So my pregnancy took a
He made
hard,
it.
Yeah, he made it. He's great now. He's 10. He's
Job on.
fine. We're both fine.
I love
But
it.
but we were in a NICU for 90 days.
I bet.
And then he came home on a heart monitor that he was on for months and months. So
Wow.
we had a huge, heavy road and a big uphill battle with him.
That is wild. Okay, well, I had no idea this was even a condition, and it's funny. There's all these medical conditions that unless you get exposed to it, they don't make the news, and it's a deal. So how, I see that you talk about, this surviving it and all of this. You help people that are going through this and help them to kind of understand it and maybe give them tools to overcoming it.
Well, with preeclampsia, the most important thing is that women know what it is and recognize it.
Right.
In full candor, the only reason I'm alive right now is because I'm married to a nurse. My
Wow.
husband is a nurse. Thank
Wow.
God, because we established this whole call by saying I'm a nerd who's really, really good at school, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I have 4 college degrees. At
Okay.
no point in any of my education had anyone ever said the word preeclampsia to me.
Right.
I was like you. I'd never heard of it before. I had no idea what it was. I'd
Yeah.
already had one successful pregnancy, and that wasn't a thing. I had zero education about a disease that was the number one killer of women.
Uh-huh.
And I was clueless. The
Wow.
only reason that I'm alive right now is because when I really began to have preeclampsia symptoms, my
Mhm.
husband recognized what was happening. And my husband took me to the hospital
Wow.
because I would have gone
Job,
back.
husband.
Yeah, seriously, I would have taken an ibuprofen and gone to bed, and I
Right.
would have had a massive stroke and died. Pearson and I both would have died in my sleep.
Wow.
And my husband took me to the hospital and they were able to treat me for like some women wind up literally living in a hospital for like months and months because of this.
Wow.
Like they're able to stabilize, but they have to be in a hospital.
Wow.
It can go left very, very quickly. And so I'm literally only alive because of that. So women need to have heard of preeclampsia if they're pregnant.
Mhm.
And you don't need to be paranoid about it. But
Right.
you need to be able to know, like, if you see those symptoms, like this is a
Yeah.
real problem, I need to talk to somebody about it. Because it can, in fact, kill you. I mean, better women than me are dead right now because of preeclampsia.
Wow. Wow. Well, that's powerful. Well, maybe that's a way this show's gonna have an impact on somebody. They're gonna hear about this and do some research and stop and think that maybe that little symptom is more than a scratch or an itch or a bite or whatever.
Right.
I love it. Well, I love the term advocate. Again, I was working with victims of the drug war for almost 20 years, and as an advocate and as a defendant myself, and going through it and learning how to help people. I've just overcome cancer, so I've learned about being an advocate for yourself in the medical world because doctors are just people and they don't necessarily know what you need. And if you're not an advocate for yourself, nobody else is going to be that for you. And for kids especially, they don't know anything. I mean, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to do it. They don't know even what they need. And having an advocate, for a kid or a kid and their parent, I think is a noble and powerful cause and trade or whatever you want to call it. Why don't you tell me a little bit about your advocacy work?
So I think in many ways I'm a natural advocate because law school ultimately trains people how to be advocates.
Hmm.
But you can be an advocate without any kind of fancy education. I
Yep.
think the only thing you really have to do is have the courage to know what you're talking about and say it. So
Yes.
what I see oftentimes, and I am not railing doctors. Like again, y'all just heard me say I am married to a medical professional and I love him very
Good.
much.
Yes.
Right? You doctors a lot of times are overworked because of the way the hospital system is structured.
Oh yeah.
And so they come in, they're tired. You might be the 10th person they've seen that day.
Exactly.
They don't always have a lot of time. But
Mhm.
I think if you've got a concern or you think there's something wrong, you need to discuss that with them.
Oh, yeah.
And if you feel like they're dismissing it or they're not really hearing you or you don't feel comforted by what they've had to say,
Mhm.
asking for a referral. Is there someone else you can send me to who this is a specialty that I
Yeah,
can speak to or have a consult with? Or those conversations are very, very important.
I couldn't agree
And
more.
I think a lot of times, especially what I see with young mothers, is moms, and I'm from the South. Southern girls
I
are
couldn't
trained.
imagine.
I know that's shocking to you.
I love that accent. I love it.
I know you're shocked. Southern girls are trained very much to be people pleasers
Uh-huh.
and not to rock boats a whole lot. And that doesn't work if you've got a child with a special need.
Right.
And so, really, just understanding like you're not being rude, mean, confrontational, whatever negative adjective you want to attribute to someone, you're not being terrible because you want to know answers.
Right.
That is what your job is as a parent. You're supposed to ask questions.
Absolutely. And I think if you learn to do it with some type of tact, that you can get taken seriously. When
Absolutely.
if you go off the rails, you get treated like a lunatic
That's right.
and thrown in a box. So I think that's an important set of tools. I'm looking at your book, Tumbleweeds, How to Be an Advocate for Your Children and Yourself in a Failing System. It sounds to me like an important handbook. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that? I mean, I know that this is important. I'm hoping that, our listeners that fall into a category where this might affect them, that they would go, wow, there's answers out there. Because, I had to find everything out for myself. I went to the School of Hard Knocks. I don't have a degree of anything, but, I know how to do a lot of stuff. And it was just because I willing to ask those questions and willing to fall on my face enough times and be an advocate. Most people don't have that though. It's I'm an anomaly, at least as far as I see it.
You're
Uh,
probably right about that.
so tell me a little bit about these, your book in the sense of what does some, say you got a parent who maybe they're just getting learning about being a foster parent, or maybe they're a parent that is maybe unjustly being threatened to have their kid taken away. Either side of that is relevant. You mentioned a failing system, and it doesn't mean it's entirely broken. It just means it's got some problems.
Yeah.
Uh, how does somebody learn what do you do? The court systems and family court's the worst because it's closed, and you don't get to have people in there with you and there's a lot of problems. They don't tell you the rule book, and you go in there and they tell you what's going to happen, and sometimes it's right and sometimes it's not, but you don't know.
Hi, this is Joe Grumbine, and I wanted to share an update. The platform that hosts this podcast has made some changes to the subscriber settings, and we have a number of subscriber-only episodes that we offer to the supporters, and for a minimum of $3 a month, we can get you signed up. And if you're already signed up and you're having some kind of trouble locating these episodes in the other platforms, I would say maybe the best answer is to unsubscribe and then resubscribe. I'm sorry for the hassle. I don't have any way to make a change, but I'm very grateful for all the support. Thank you.
Well, let's talk for just a minute about this clinic that my town has that I love. So, my community formed something called the Sun Clinic, the Substance Use Network Clinic.
Nice.
And it was founded by a retired gynecologist.
Okay.
And essentially, what he does is he has created a network for substance addicted mothers.
Okay.
So women who are heroin or cocaine addicted, who are now pregnant and who want to have their baby,
Mhm.
but who are in fact using substances.
Mhm.
And what they've done is they have created a community with the Department of Human Services, the hospital, and local therapists. So the Dr. Suda, who's our fabulous gynecologist, he treats the mothers with the medication that they need to be able to sustain a healthy pregnancy. He tells everyone this infant is going to test positive for drugs. It's going to. And that's not a reason to take this baby away from its mother. We need the baby to be able to attach to its mom and to be able to go through the withdrawals and whatever, but it needs to do that with mom on a special unit in the peds ward with mom.
Nice.
So the pediatrician and the gynecologist work together to keep baby and mom together. And DSS knows about this, and they do not take the baby away from mom based on that. And then mom goes to therapy the whole time.
All right.
And so they really try to unpack mom's issues. That is the type of stuff that we need nationwide.
I couldn't agree more. This is awesome.
That is what we need, because there's so many things about this. We have not had any child. There's no infant that's gone through the Sun Clinic that has died.
Wow.
And we need this because what Dr. Suda always said is when women substance users need motivation to stop, there is nothing more powerful and inspiring that than a pregnancy with a child that they want to have.
Right.
And so he talks about, this is holistic healing because they've started using substances for some reason. We're not going to be able to get them to stop using substances until we have some form of mental health exploration and help them deal with the issues they've never dealt with before. And so they just have done an amazing job with this program. And I think far too often what we do in society is we stigmatize other people. We stigmatize our foster children. We stigmatize our substance using mothers. We stigmatize, moms like me who are sitting there going, I think you're wrong. Actually, this is what I think is going on with my kid. We stigmatize people like that. And we've got to do a better job of meeting people where they are. When I was in counseling school, that was one of the most important things I think they told us is like, it doesn't matter where you are. It matters where they are. And you've got to meet people where they are and try to help them feel motivated to get to where they need to be. So my book talks a lot about systems that don't work. It's basically a story of all four of my children. It's a huge anecdotal story of what I went through with each child, but I try to give useful tips and pieces of information in that story that I hope are helpful for other people in like learning how to get from A to B or what to do if they feel overwhelmed. Most of all, I really just want people to feel hope. I think for so many people in these situations, we just write them off like they're trash or they're the gutter of society. And that doesn't help anybody do anything. Nobody ever improved their circumstances because someone stigmatized them and wrote them off. So I hope that it does that.
And so tell me about your practice today. How does that all work?
Yeah. So I am an attorney, about 30 some hours. Well, honestly, I have no idea how many hours a week I work. My addiction is work. In full candor, my addiction is work. If I didn't have my children, I would really be a workaholic. But my children are the thing that stops me from being a workaholic.
Good for the kids, right?
That's right. My drug of choice is work, but my kids are my anecdote. I practice law a lot, but I also am a therapist and I also do actively see clients for counseling, usually about 10 hours a week, but I have other therapists who work with me and for me. And so, two businesses, both doing pretty well. Honestly, some days I just sort of do whatever I'm needed the most. Some days I'm helping somebody in a crisis. Other days I'm in court getting somebody declared incompetent or involuntarily committed. I mean, it just sort of depends on what I'm supposed to do that day.
So your attorney practice is centered around the same people that you're counseling?
No, Not all, no, not usually. I
Okay.
don't like to wear a hat for the same person.
Okay.
Right? That's not good. And so in my law practice, I pretty much do court appointed work relating to involuntary commitments and incompetency hearings. But I
Okay.
also run the gamut of things like probate, estate planning, trademark.
Oh,
That.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
But with my counseling practice, if somebody wants to hire me to be a lawyer, that's great. If someone wants to hire me to be their therapist, that's great. I don't do
you're not going to
any
do
criminal.
both.
Right. I don't do both. And I
Got it.
can't tell you, though, how many times somebody comes to see me and I'm like, are you hiring me for law or therapy? And they're like, I don't really know. Can I just speak? And I'm like, sure, we can come and have a conversation and figure it out. But a lot of people think they need a lawyer and they book an appointment with me because they think they need a lawyer. And
Right.
I'm like, you do not have a legal problem.
Right.
Like,
Right.
you need 10 minutes of legal consult to have someone tell you this is not a problem a lawyer can help you with.
Right.
You have a counseling mental health problem
Hmm.
and you need some guidance on that. And so I do that a lot.
Nice. Well, I know we're running a little low on time, and I always try to get to an anecdote like this. You've worked with and helped a lot of people the way I see it. Is there one case that stands out where you just came in and there was a dramatic change or impact that you had?
Yeah, I had a schizophrenic client once who was a whole mess. She was screaming about religious things in the jail in the middle of the night and keeping all the other inmates awake. So they had to put her in solitary where she did not belong, and which made her schizophrenia symptoms exponentially increase. I mean, she was the type of schizophrenic who was painting on the wall with her feces at that point.
Wow.
Rapid deterioration. And I had some phone calls from the police department and from our local DA who were like, we do not want this person in the jail. She doesn't belong here. Her crime was real dumb. Like, I think she spit in an ER nurse's face or something because they asked her to leave and she wouldn't.
Mhm.
And so, in any event, I got her a guardian. I got her on the Invega shot because the Invega shot is 93% effective in the United States with most schizophrenics. Got her
Wow.
on the Invega shot, and she is now out doing great and actually has a successful job at a restaurant.
Hey, wow. Good job. Good job.
So we can turn a lot of people around as long as we understand what's going on with them and are able to treat whatever condition it is that they have.
Now, I know that this may be even impossible because of the wide range of things you're doing, but is there a central message you'd like to leave our listeners with today?
Yeah, I think I would like to just tell your listeners that there's always hope. It's so easy some of the time when you feel negative emotions to feel like it's never going to get any better. But tomorrow is always another day. And so some of the time you need a good night's sleep. Some of the time you just need to find the right human to
Nice.
help you.
That's beautiful, Paula. Well, um, how does somebody get a hold of you? How does somebody find your book? Tell us about how to reach you.
So my website is paulayost.com and my Facebook and Instagram are Paula J. Yost author. And you can find me on any of those places.
Beautiful. And your book?
Is Tumbleweeds. And it's available on Amazon.com.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, Paula, this has been delightful. I'm glad to have gotten to meet you, and the invitation I gave you before is definitely on the floor. There's so much more we could talk about. If I wish people had a longer attention span, but they generally don't. So I just want to thank you for being here.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me, Joe.
Beautiful. Well, this has been another episode of the Healthy Living Podcast, and I am your host, Joe Grumbine. I want to thank all of our listeners to make this show possible, and we will see you next time. This has been another episode of the Healthy Living Podcast. We produce this show so that people can share their stories, people that have overcome obstacles, people that are undergoing obstacles. We're building a community of health-minded individuals. If you're interested in supporting the show, please leave a review on the platform you're listening to it on. If you're interested in becoming a guest, please send an email to itsjoegrumbine@gmail.com, or you can send a note into the notes section of the podcast. All right. Well, thank you for supporting this show, and we hope you've enjoyed it.